Thank you for listening to the 39th Street Church of Christ Daily Devotional. The devotional today is What Have They Seen in Thine House by Jack Williams. Well, we finished our second day of our lectureship here at 39th Street, and a lot of good lessons. Always encouraging. Hope you look on our YouTube channel. If you're not viewing them online live, you can always look at the archives. But today there was a lesson that was by Derek Yarber entitled What Have They Seen in Thine House? Talking about Hezekiah, King Hezekiah being asked that question. And it made me get to thinking a little bit as Derek preached that lesson about what people see in me and us and what they perceive and what we ought to show. You know, this little boy, pretty cute, isn't he? Well, he's quite a bit older now, but he was small, maybe a little smaller than this, and sitting in my lap, and we'd been reading a book, and he, after reading it, he looked at me and looked kind of strange. And he said, "Pop, Pop, are you an elf?" Well, seems like one of my ears maybe is a little pointed. And we'd read a little bit about the elves. So he looked, and that's what he perceived. That's what an elf is identified by, has these little pointy ears, and Pop, Pop, you've got one. Well, as Christians, we send out signals as to who we are, whether we're living as a Christian or not. The Colossian writer in chapter 3 and verse 1 says, If ye be risen with Christ, seek those things that are above where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. So I look and I think, as other people look at me, what have they seen in my house? What have they seen in me, in my life? Do they see somebody who seeks the things that are above? What is the main pursuit in my life? The writer goes on and says, set your affections on the things that are above, not on the things of the earth. And he talks about you're dead and your life is hid with Christ in God. Really talking about what happened whenever we were baptized into Christ in Romans the 6th chapter, the old man of sin put to death, we rise to walk in the newness of life. So he talks about mortifying, getting rid of those things that are in our lives that we repented of when we became children of God. So those things that are there, the immorality, the covetousness, the evil thoughts and desires, those things, you don't do them anymore. Do I? What have they seen in my house? He talks about, too, that we are to not lie to one another. There's an honesty. I've put off the old man and his deeds. But he reminds me, too, that where I am in Christ, there's neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision or uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. That's in Colossians, the 3rd chapter, in verse 11. And you think about that. Whenever I deal with other people, am I apprehensive about dealing with somebody because of their nationality, because of their skin color, because of their language, because of their accent? That ought not to be in Christ. But what do people see? What do they see in my house? What do they see in me? He goes on and he talks about the positive things. I ought to have bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. I ought to be forbearing, forgiving. You know, that's not like the world around us, is it? We need to realize that each and every day we go out and other people see what we are, who we are truly, not just what we profess, but what we display in our lives. Much like that little boy sitting in my life, or in my lap, rather. And he looked up at me and he knew in that book an elf had pointy ears. He saw a pointy ear on me and had to ask, are you an elf? Whenever people see us, do they think Jack's a Christian or Jack's not? I remember the story of another little boy looking to his daddy, and he had read something about Christians, and he went to his daddy. He said, Daddy, what's a Christian? And the daddy said, well, son, it's somebody who believes that God is, and he's real, and that he's spoken through his Bible. They've obeyed the things in the Bible. They become his children. They live each day. They worship. He went on to describe things. And the little boy stopped for a minute and looked up to his daddy and says, Daddy, have we ever seen one? How tragic that is that he looked to his dad and didn't see what the dad knew a Christian ought to be. What have they seen in my house? What have they seen in your house? I pray we'll go forth and that we will show forth who we are, who we ought to be, who God enabled us to be. You have a good day. Live a good life, and let people see God in your house, in your life. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to watch this short devotional. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be notified of other devotionals that will be forthcoming. Also, we encourage you to join us online live as we stream our services at each service time. More information can be found on our website at the link below. Thank you.